Hello everyone, what is up? So I'm currently driving to my friend's house, and here's the scoop. God has been doing a lot in my life lately, and I wanted to share. Lately there have been just some cool stories that have happened that I feel like I need to share with you guys. I shared it on my Instagram story, and it was a huge encouragement, and I asked people if I should make a video about it on my YouTube channel, and everyone said yes, I should do it. So here it is. So I'll just start from the beginning, and I just want this to be an encouragement to you guys who are maybe going through it, that God is faithful, and here's an example of how he still lives and breathes and works. And it was just an encouraging story that I thought I would share with my friends and people online, because it's a way that we can point people to Jesus. But anyway, so I'm at work the other night, and I'm having a rough day. I was not wise, and I didn't sleep that well. I got like 3 hours of sleep the night previous, and I go into work, and I'm working a double, and so I am basically dying, and I don't know. I'm just having a rough day. That's how it starts off. And I go in, and I'm going through work, and lately I've been struggling with just relationship issues, or kind of doubting God for provision in terms of a relationship, or just in general a lot of things when it comes to just girls and relationships, at least for guys. And just because I didn't have a lot of sleep, I wasn't sober-minded and rested, a lot of just lustful thoughts were going through my head, and I was thinking like, why don't I have a girlfriend right now? There are so many couples around this restaurant. I just want a girlfriend. And I keep remembering, I'm like, God, like I know intellectually, like I remember people talking about this, and I know that you are better than a relationship, and I'm like, unless you give me the relationship, it probably won't even last, or just it won't if you're not in it. And so I know this. I'm acting on only what I know. So I'm acting in faith, not in my feelings. But my feelings are telling me God is not good. Like all this stuff is going wrong. It's just awful, really. And so I'm going through my whole shift that way, just praying in my head, like, God, please deliver me from whatever this thing is. Like, I don't want it. It's really gross. It just hurts. I was just kind of going through it. And then I get to the end of my shift, and I deliver food to this guy's table, and I'm like, stuff's still going wrong. I put the food down at this guy's table. He turns and looks at me, or no, he doesn't. I'm sorry, he doesn't turn and look at me, not yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. They start to eat their food, but they immediately bow their head to pray, and I just heard such genuineness in their faith, and it was awesome. I just heard him go, Father. And I was like, dang, this guy's got like a lot of faith, and you can just tell. So I asked him like, hey, or I just told him, hey, I really appreciate like you praying. It was really encouraging to me. I've just been having a rough night, and this was like just a little sign of God's faithfulness, that there are still people around. I guess I was also just feeling really alone. And then he's like, oh, well, like, what's your name? And I'm like, I'm Nate. He's like, oh, gift of God, because that's what Nathan means in the Bible. And I was like, that's so cool. Just to get to hear that. And then him and the guy he was eating with were both pastors at a church. And if this is offensive, you guys can correct me. I'm just fully aware of my just not knowing this, but it was two older black gentlemen, the type that, at least from my perspective, are kind of the guys who like would welcome you in, and the type of guys who would have like given me a bed to sleep in had I needed one that night. Whatever. They were just awesome. That's the kind of character I saw in them. Just very welcoming, old gentlemen is the best word I have for that. And the guy looked at me, he's like, we could pray for you. And then I come back because I was like, I want to finish the conversation with you guys. And we started a whole conversation. He actually, one of them's name was Joy, one of them's name was Tyrone. I kind of was telling him some of my testimony and everything going on in my life, and I was telling him how my dad, if you guys don't know this, my dad has lost his job as a pastor a while back, and it's been really discouraging for our family sometimes, because he was a pastor. We got absorbed by a church that we were supposed to merge with, and they did a bunch of weird things with our church. they ended up absorbing our building, but letting my dad go in a poor financial decision and whatever. But he's been out of a pastoral job for a while, and it's been really discouraging to him. And Tyrone just looks me in the eyes without blinking, without anything, and just said, "Go home and tell your father the storm will pass." And I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy is just so confident in Jesus. And I'm like, it was just encouraging and enriching to my own faith. And I was asking them, like, maybe one of you guys could disciple me, because I've been able to mentor some guys myself, but like need discipleship of my own, and the people who I've been discipled by just haven't gotten me all the time. And they look at each other and like, oh yeah, the Holy Spirit's working right now, so maybe one of them will disciple me. I was also telling them that I studied video production, and then the guy was like, we need a video producer for our church. Still waiting to hear back from them, but this is how God was just so able to encourage me. And then also the guy named Joy said, I want to sow a seed in you, and just handed me $60 cash. And I was like, this is so cool, just getting to meet men with just hearts so on fire for God. And then, so that's only the first half of the night, okay? Second half of the night, I'm walking out the back door. It's been a long shift, but now I'm like excited to go home and tell my mom and encourage others like with what's going on. And I run into 3 people in the back, and we're just kind of having a conversation about work. And then I get to talk to my friend Tyler. And Tyler and I end up having an awesome, just natural conversation. And he's like, do you want to walk to our cars? I was like, oh yeah, sure. Like just absentmindedly, of course not walking to my car. And we start walking to the cars, and he drives me over to mine, and we're just sitting there and we're just talking about Jesus. And one of the things we were addressing was like people who are homosexual or struggle with homosexuality, and how God still loves them, but sometimes the church doesn't act like it. So an encouragement to everyone out there, no matter whatever race you are, whatever sexual orientation, or what I don't even know how to name it. Whatever person with whatever struggle, whatever you think disqualifies you from the love of God, if you're like, oh, well, he doesn't love me because of this, whatever you've done, that's the really cool part about Jesus. It's like you can't come up with a single thing that can prevent you from being loved by him. If you read Romans, I think it's Romans 8:38 or something, it's around there, but it just talks about how neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the powers above, powers below, and he literally is just saying, what if you can name it, if you can think of it, it cannot prevent you from being in a relationship, or like from God's love. He just loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it, which is so dope. And then, so we're talking about this stuff. We're talking about like music that's been encouraging to our faith, and how he's kind of like strayed from the faith a little bit because he felt like it hasn't been accepted, because he struggles with homosexuality or identifies as gay, or however you want to name it. I'm trying to be the most sensitive I can. Apologies if I'm not doing a great job. But yeah, just like him hearing me talk about my love for Jesus, he was like, yeah, maybe I should get involved in church again. Like, I love what you're saying, and I feel so welcomed by you. And I'm like, I freaking love the spirit that God has put in me to just like welcome people. And it's great to like have people in front of me that feel welcome talking to me and having a conversation. And then his windows are cracked a little bit, and I hear screaming out the window, and I'm like, what is going on? And so then I look at him, and he's like, oh, just stoners in this parking lot are always yelling and getting like wild about something. And I go, that doesn't sound like a playful scream like we'd participate in. That sounds like someone's in danger. So we're quiet for a second, and I roll down the rest of his window, and I listen, and I just hear a woman go, "You threw me on the ground." And I was like, that's definitely not a playful whatever. And then we hear an argument. We find out that it's 2 black individuals, and so I'm like, do we call the cops in a time like this? If you're watching this video sometime in the future, it is 2020, and we're currently going through Black Lives Matter movement. Police brutality is still a problem. Obviously, if you're watching it currently, you know what's going on. But yeah, just all of that's happening right now, and so I'm like, is the wisest decision, whether or not the officer does his job when he shows up, it may not be comforting to the person who is in danger in this situation, since she is black. So I was like, Lord, we're here, use us. And we walk over there, and I this is so weird. This is how God is just like, whatever you think makes sense in the world, we just did the opposite. I went up, and to the attacker, I went up and shook his hand, or I guess assumed attacker. I didn't really see any of it happen, so I'm just going based on assumption at this point, so I can't say it's facts. But from what I could observe, she was definitely probably thrown on the ground, hurt and injured. She was distraught and crying. But I shook his hand, got his name, and he makes some comment about needing to get his glove back while she's like scrambling to get in her car and get to safety. And I was like, okay. And then Tyler goes over to the window and is like super gentle with her and is like, can we call anybody for you? And as soon as he mentions calling anybody for her, the guy flees the scene, which then makes me think, not proven, but makes me think, yeah, guy's probably in the wrong. Just like more confirms my assumption. And she's just like distraught, crying. She can't even form a full sentence. She's so like all over the place. And I was like, I don't know what else to do. This other guy pulls up who apparently used to work at the boatyard place that I work at. And his name is Steven. And he was like also seeing that she was in trouble and was basically doing the same thing we were. So we pull up, or we've walked up already. And I literally, she eventually opens the door for me. And I go, what is your name? Like, can we do anything for you? Her name's ends up being Nia. And I literally just, in my disgusting work clothes, I'm like, God, this is so weird, but so cool at the same time. I just sit on the ground, put my hand on her knee, and ask if I can pray for her. And she says yes. And then I pray and pray and pray, everything that God puts on my heart, like affirming her, knowing that she's now safe, that God has brought people to her safety to make the attacker flee. She goes from holding her lip, not being able to form a full sentence, and just so distraught and chaotic, to crying tears of joy that the Lord is good, because she has now tasted and seen that the Lord is good. He sent us to be there with her. It was so awesome. Steven, the guy who ends up randomly showing up too, is able to follow her home to make sure she's safe. And just, it was such a cool experience. She ends up being totally, like, obviously she's hurt in some way, but she's like more encouraged towards the Lord. Like her faith was probably strengthened that day. I don't know where that other guy is, but he's now at least gone away from her in that moment, and she was safe in that moment. We're going to pray that he doesn't come back to hurt her. Or that if they were in a relationship at all, hopefully that breaks off and she gets to someone more healthy. And then pray for him that God works in his heart to bring him to repentance of like mistreating God's daughter. But yeah, it was a super cool experience. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I just want to say that, like, out of all of it, one, it was super encouraging to meet those guys at the beginning. It was super cool to see God's encouragement towards Tyler, who had maybe fallen away a little bit because of lack of, like, acceptance by the body, and just how in one moment he can use one person like me to welcome him in, and then God just sends us on a mission immediately. And then we get back in the car, and Tyler and I are just reflecting on the night's activities. Like, had we not been in this place at this time, then maybe this wouldn't have happened. But how, because we were together, he also said that he wouldn't have gone over there had I not been there. And I was thinking the same thing, that, like, I don't know how brave I would have been to go help somebody had I not had someone with me, but we were together and we got to go just be. I was telling him how I heard this one saying from this, I forget what his name is, but he's a motivational speaker who is a follower of Christ, who doesn't have any arms or legs, and is just incredible, and his testimony is great, and just about pointing us to Jesus. And one of the sentences that stuck out to me was how Jesus is the only person who can use a man without arms and legs to be his hands and feet. And I was telling Tyler how we got to be his hands and feet that night. And it was just awesome. We got to talk more about Jesus. He came over, we ended up playing the piano a little bit, and now we're better friends. And God has just been using me at my workplace, and it's just freaking cool to get to see the fruit of being a light in a dark place. That, like, being a part of my crew movement and just being like, it's kind of like like God's just calling me out of a comfortable place, that, like, there's so much more fruit. You can't be a light in a bright place. You get to be a light in the darkness. So because there's maybe a lot of darkness going on at my workplace, that I get to be a light there. And I've had so many awesome conversations, and it's just really cool. So be praying for Tyler, be praying for Nia, be praying for Trey, that one guy who was not treating Nia very well. Pray for just my workplace. Yeah, guys, I hope this was super encouraging. I am so glad to have shared it. I forgot that I was driving this whole time, really. I mean, like, my eyes are on the road, but just telling the story, my heart is just so set on what the Lord's doing. But yeah, I hope this was encouraging to you guys. I've been told by a lot. Oh, that was the other thing. I posted something up like this on my Instagram story, and like 20 people reached out afterwards and were like, Nate, this is so cool. Like, this was so encouraging to me. Thank you for sharing this. And I was like, maybe I need to share this on a different platform. So I might be putting out more of these. Who knows? I don't. I'm just going to go with what the Lord has set for me. Oh, and my brother just texted me. Anyway, probably gotta go. I am headed to my friend's place. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening to this whole video if you somehow made it through all 15 minutes of the story. But yeah, God is doing crazy things, and I'll be praying that, hoping this video blessed you in some way, that it has challenged you to just go out there and push the limits of, like, basically the whole premise of this whole thing was go on God's nudges. Those little nudges you feel from him of like, maybe I should do this. Don't make it a maybe. Just go do it, because what could possibly be the negative of trying to help someone? The benefits are they'll probably be helped. They'll probably get pointed to Jesus. And two, if your heart's in the right place, I don't know a time where I've genuinely gone to try to help somebody and it hasn't been beneficial to me and them, just in my heart and their story or whatever. So this is my challenge and call to, like, those uncomfortable moments where you're like, maybe I should do this for this person. Just do it. Just don't second guess it at all. Just go with the Lord's nudge and follow it, and then see the fruit that comes after it, because it's so rewarding, especially when you don't plan it out. You're just like, I feel like you're telling me to do this, God, because it's something you do, and then you do it, and then all this stuff follows after it. Anyway, guys, hope it was encouraging. Thank you for watching. Hopefully there will be more of this. I'm guessing there will, because the Lord is good, and I'm just going to keep following him like I'm supposed to, and hopefully more will come like this. Anyway, bye.